Namaste. I'm with a very distinguished guest, Sonal Mansingh. She needs no introduction. She's considered the preeminent dancer and representative and ambassador of Indian performing arts worldwide, has had a very long, distinguished career. Padam Vibhushan and Padam Bhushan, both very rare accomplishment. And of course, a very dear friend of mine. I will tell you how long I've known her and what I've learned from her. Thank you for coming. Pleasure to have a chance to talk to you in this way.
Namaste to you, namaste to your wonderful viewers. And it's a great honor, privilege and pleasure for me, really, to be talking with you, speaking with you, Rajiv. I respect you a lot, I admire you a lot.
Well, you know, 20 some years ago,
yeah,
a mutual friend, Jagdish Kapoor, introduced us. You were visiting New York, and he said, you have to meet this person because of your passion, what you're trying to do. So we had a wonderful dinner in New York City. You remember that?
I remember very well.
And you told me a lot of amazing things about our tradition, about dance, and I was really interested in figuring out how we can promote our civilization in the Western world. And one point stuck, which I want to tell people, which you were the first person who told me that ever in my life, and that became a very important part of my own discovery of our culture. So you said, ours is the only philosophy that we dance our philosophy. And this is very interesting. You know, there is no Ram Leela for Christianity. There's no Bharatnatyam, no Kathak, there's no dance of Christianity. There's a theology, there's a philosophy. They have other dances, but they're not connected. Greek dance, Greek theatre, and you know, it's not about Plato's philosophy. It has nothing to do with that. Jews don't, certainly Muslims don't dance their, you know, anything to do with their equivalent of what we would consider to be their sacred text. So this was an interesting point you made, and I started thinking about it quite a lot. About that time, I was also studying a very prominent French scholar of Buddhism and neuroscience. He was a neuroscientist called Francisco Varela, who coined the term embodied knowing. He was a Buddhist. Later he kind of moved into took all that knowledge and secularized it, appropriated it, and turned it into neuroscience, neurophenomenology, called it his own, because he used a different jargon for it. So a whole lot of things that we would consider adhyatmic, he coined this term embodied knowing, that really the body is the knower, not just the brain, and contrasted with disembodied knowing, which is something in a text or something which is separate from the person. You know, so he was writing a lot about this, and then I started pursuing, you know, how our yagna works, how our rituals work, and the whole role of embodied knowing, yoga, tantra, all of that as sort of systems of embodied knowing, and performing arts in that way. So it influenced me quite a bit, and this is a topic I have covered extensively in my book, Being Different, this whole idea of embodied knowing. So I owe you for planting a seed 20 years ago.
Thank you, Rajiv. I think this is a very interesting opening for me. As you rightly said, that Indic darshan, the philosophy of life, philosophy of cosmos, creation, has been appropriated over millennia. And we don't mind, because I don't think India believes even now in what's it called, copyright. But I really wonder, as you say, and you so generously you have talked about this, that you got that one idea, the seed. I often think, what is this embodied and not embodied or disembodied, as you say, jargon? Whatever we do, body is the instrument, body is the vehicle. Without body, you cannot do anything. Just the head, just the mind, the brain is of no use. So the yoga, the yujyateti yoga, the in tandem, working in tandem, in balance, in proportion, all this is understood And what we learn in dance, as I often tell my students also, what you experience is this embodied knowledge or knowing that the mind knows that you have to produce this particular rhythm, this laya vinyasa, how to break up adi tala of 8 beats, which goes 100 times, 800 beats, and in how many ways you can cut it and come to the sama. Or you have to show just sitting down the whole of Ramayana. We can do that. You just have to think and your body obeys, because you have that knowledge that body is the instrument, the first step to accomplishment in life. Now, if this is made into, I mean, for us it's natural. Then when I read Ulysses, James Joyce, there's a character called Mr. Grundy, if I remember. And he writes one sentence I quote often: Mr. Grundy lived a little distance from his body. And I often say that in my lectures and demonstrations, that I look around and I see so many Mr. Grundys. Because they have no awareness.
Disconnected with the body.
Yeah, no awareness, no alignments.
So I want to ask you a question here. Do you feel that people who are embarrassed of the body or have an inferiority complex of the body, maybe colonialism or slavery, they are kind of very self-conscious of the body in a negative sense. They wish they were someone else. They wish they were a white person or a taller person or whatever, and they have a kind of a, not a very happy, still contented sense of body. Do you think it has something to do with that?
I think there are two things. One is, of course, what you just mentioned. Other thing is about when you read the ancient literature, you look at the sculptures, look at the body. Even the women are either bare breast or just a very thin veil, and there is no. I mean, they revel. They celebrate the body.
Very confident.
Very celebrate. So once the attacks began and once the foreign ideologies began coming in, more and more the women especially became confined inside somewhere in the body.
Knotted up.
Yes. And the men also lost that confident gait, that confident look. It was all apologetic or number 2 citizen, being, and always rubbing hands and looking down, or trying to shrink, as it were. I do think that time has come. I mean, when I look at our Prime Minister, I feel so good. Look at him walk like a lion. And this is what is needed for generations. It is not just trying to do break dance and rock and roll. That anyone can do, even a monkey can do, I say.
Right.
But the awareness of what is the body, what it is capable of, and the body mind, body mind has become again another jargon. But the body mind and the controlling factor of body mind, keeping it in balance. What is that controlling factor? We have to consider that. And that is where I said, it is, we dancers, we dance the philosophy, we make it mobile, 3-dimensional, we make it visual. Because somewhere I'm aware of that factor, auchitya. What is uchit, anuchit? What is appropriate, not appropriate? What should be in balance, in harmony, in unity? My energies, my emotions. I can't be saying, I can't do that. I have to do it in a way that is controlled and yet effective, communicates what I want to say. So that control also is very, very important, which I think somewhere it is lost.
It's a form of yoga, that self-discipline.
Dance is yoga. That's why Nataraj is the symbol. Nataraj, I often say, I can't tire of saying, he is not called Yogi Raj, Kavi Raj, Geeta Raj, Neta Raj, leader. He is Nataraj.
Right. Kya baat hai. Very nice. So, as a major ambassador of our culture and a very patriotic Indian, I wanted to ask you, what are your general thoughts on the state of affairs in India? We have a new government for 2.5 years, and on a ticket, on a platform of being a Hindu or Vedic dharmic government, traditional values, and 2.5 years. What is your assessment of where things are in that particular respect? A lot of work has been done in the financial sector, and the GST and demonetization and all that is very, very important stuff. But in terms of bringing our civilization back on track, the discourse, how do you see that?
I'll pick up two words from your question. First, you describe me as patriotic Indian. Now, just 2.5 years ago, till 2.5 years ago, the word patriotic was a dirty word. It was a kind of a bad epithet which meant you are mumbo jumbo, you are saffron, I'm wearing saffron, you are communal as against secular, vis-a-vis secular, you are rightist, etc., etc., etc.
So the progressive people have to hate their country. That kind of an idea was there.
And then, so then again I have to think, what does progressive mean? And what do you mean by progress?
Progress towards what?
Towards what? To what purpose? What are the methodology? And when you challenge people like that, then they are, and then they start hurling epithets at you. They have no logic, they have no reasoning.
Right.
Another thing that I find is that the lack of debate and dialogue. And that was very evident in the previous years, because the minute you debated or wanted a dialogue, are you with us or you're not with us? That there were no areas where you could have an open mind and have a discourse and listen to other person. There was no
like a gang. You join us or you.
Absolutely, mafia.
Yes.
Now, but mafias have a particular power. It's a collective. And then the second word that I pick up from that earlier question is the Hindu government or leaning towards that. I would rather say a nationalist government.
Okay.
A government which is led by people or by Prime Minister whose heart and mind are in the right place, because they are thinking only of the good of India.
Right.
That one point agenda is India.
Right.
And in a long, long time, I think we haven't had, or ever.
For a long time.
Yeah.
Certainly not after independence. This is the first time since independence we have somebody.
So the whatever they're trying to do, 2.5 years, Rajiv, is a short time. And as you know, very humorously he says, and we all say that we follow that, you want a hisab kitab of 65, 70 years now.
Right.
So let us calculate all the pros and cons that have happened in all these past decades.
Right.
And then let's talk.
Right.
So first, I think we should put it in perspective that after independence, there was a great hurry in the Nehruvian era to do things. Hapad dhapad, kar do. Bakra nangal ho gaya, ye ho gaya, science ho gaya. Very good, some good, some whatever. In that, what happened, they set up these academies. The Sangeet Natak Academy, the Sahitya Academy, the Lalit Kala Academy, for painting and visual arts, for literature, and for performing arts. And in one basket, they started dumping whatever at that time was available or was seen. So now nothing has changed. As Shankaracharya did in 8th century, what he did was the cleaning up. As we clean up our homes for Diwali, that cleaning up or revisiting those ideas and relocating them and bringing in fresh things which were not thought of at that time. All this is not happening. unfortunately, I think people are so happily settled on a certain plateau, what we call the comfort zone,
Right.
that anything that requires them to think afresh or to move even an inch from their stated positions is difficult.
Right.
And then they start labeling the person who's talking about it. So it's a very convenient way they found in India for the past few decades to sideline everyone or everything that disturbs you, your equilibrium or whatever. So I would say that the state of the arts, in a way, it is very exciting, because even if you don't do anything, India is exciting.
Yes.
This land has some magic. It's no. I mean, I have no words to describe what this land is. And I often say I become very emotional. And maybe I need 7 more births in India to even have a little inkling, a glimpse. There's a whole range, it's a whole rainbow. Now, coming back to arts, the music, dance, theatre, literature, poetry, the layers are too many. Broadly speaking, what we call the tribes of India, 5,000 plus. What you call the folk. Now in Europe, folk means something different. Here we say lok.
Right.
That which is widely prevalent among people. So the folk dance, the folk music, the folk literature, the folk poems, the folk painting, and then of course all that classical. But what people should understand is that this is not vis-a-vis, or there is not a hierarchy.
Right.
It's not classical, folk, tribal. No, they are parallel. They have taken from each other, especially classical has definitely taken from all these.
Sure.
And what we call you see, when we talk, we have to speak in English for convenience. But the terms are untranslatable in a language like English. What Bharata says, Desi and Margi.
Right.
Desi, that is all over, available easily, spread all over. Margi, Marga means the road. So from lot of by lanes and landscape, there are main roads. That is Margi. But if you don't have the landscape, you don't have the marg.
Right.
So I would say that the state of you said HRD ministry. HRD deals with human development, whatever.
Human resource development.
Human resources development. Huge words, It used to be education.
Education ministry.
Education ministry, you remember that? And I talk about it a lot. Education had culture in it. A very
part of culture?
Education had culture.
Included
Culture was part of education.
But now culture is part of tourism.
Rajiv, I want to now you are provoking me because
See, because culture and education, culture and tourism are part of the same minister.
I'll tell you, I think it was in the time of Rajiv Gandhi. This HRD thing came into being, and I think Narasimha Rao or whoever was the first, or Arjun Singh later. No, Narasimha Rao was the first HRD minister, and then in Narasimha Rao's government, Arjun Singh was minister, HRD. Anyway, but culture, poor thing, has been treated like a football. You remove it from culture, like I say, you remove butter from buttermilk. Then what remains is the sour, watery buttermilk. Butter is gone. That is culture. Then they put it at one time with tourism, again it's come with tourism, at one time with civil aviation, at another time it went with women and child development ministry, at one time it was with youth affairs and sports.
So there is no...
And the worst is yet to come. The worst was Menaka Gandhi got culture and animal welfare. And that is where I drew the line. And I told Atal Bihari Vajpayee ji, was Prime Minister, I said, tomorrow I am sitting on a dharna in front of your residence. This is too much. Unacceptable. So they, I think, two months
So
down.
in other words, there's no one taking culture seriously enough to be its own thing.
Now, and my view is that culture has therefore become rather Nach Gana ministry.
Yeah.
You know, anything, acha, festival kar do. Here in agency they had a Rashtriya Sanskruti Mahotsav year before, this year. Just get all these folk dance troupes and do something. So the slot filling, that you have to fill up the slot and you have to show that we are doing this. It is connected also to budgetary requirements and so many, I think the levels I don't even want to go into. But the point that I'm making is there is no seriousness at all about culture. Sanskruti. Now culture, I don't know what it means in English. Broadly I know. Samskruti, the original word in Sanskrit, is something different. It is a Himalayan word. The ambit is so large, it takes into account everything that you can count. It also has economy, science, technology, arts, languages, I don't know, whatever, textiles, everything. Why? Because a culture which is at the basis of a civilization must cover it all and bring them in a very focused way, in a balanced way, in a unified, harmonious way. That is Samskruti.
Right.
And Samskruti always is informed by basic core values, mulya, which are, we say, perennial.
So do you see a disconnect between this idea of culture and the Bollywood culture, the disco dance culture? What do you think of the youth culture in urban India, which seems to be quite different from this idea of culture? What has happened? Why has it happened? What do you think of it?
I think then we'll have to stray into the aspect of media.
Okay. Yes.
Because in the earlier centuries, media was word of mouth, all through those companies, touring groups, etc. Then slowly the telephone came and the newspapers came and etc. Now we know we have 100 plus channels. Maybe America has 300 plus channels, but India is not also lagging behind. There are any number of English newspapers, vernacular newspapers, magazines. I'm not even referring now to the huge hoardings which dot all the roads that you normally don't see in Europe or America, not huge ones everywhere. But let's go to media, because media has the biggest grip on the mind and psychology, right? They even create emotions. So my question has been, even in this all these conclaves, and nobody has any answer, that barring our national channel, Doordarshan's one particular channel, DD Bharati, and perhaps little slots on Lok Sabha TV, Rajya Sabha TV, I do not see any channel bringing in anything remotely connected to culture.
And also the movies, when in the story, at least when I was growing up, good, nice dances and all that were part of the scene, whether the average person had it in their village or not, but they could watch it in the movie. But now that also is the disco era. So it seems that is it top down or is it bottom up? Is it that that's what the kids want and hence that's what's given to them, or is it that that's what is given to them and hence they want it?
If I feed my child day after day with Maggie, with pizza, with mega burgers, with huge bottles of Coca-Cola, and the kid would say every day, I want that. The kid doesn't know anything else.
So this alienation, is it because we want to westernize it, we feel it's superior? Is it that the traditional culture is too cumbersome, takes too many years to learn?
No, Rajiv, it's not about learning the culture. Culture doesn't, you don't learn culture in the sense that it is in the air. But the manifestations of culture. See, if you were to just to watch concerts, performances, listen to the All India radio, they used to be wonderful. There still are. You pick it up. You don't need to be a connoisseur. You don't even need to be you need to know nothing. You just have to enjoy it. That's it. But a hoo-ha has been created. Bhoot. Oh, classical culture mushkil hai. Indian culture, let's not condemn it across the board, huh? There are young people, there are many, many in India, all over India, who love it. They need opportunity. Opportunity is not given. A particular auditorium in Delhi, for example, the good ones, the maximum seats available are 800, 700. In a city of 1.5 crores, how many millions is that in whatever? What does it mean? Then the infrastructure in various parts of the city, I've been talking about it. Why hasn't any government, any municipality created those wonderful campuses with auditorium, canteen, exhibition hall, just that much, or exhibition in the foyer? Where do I go and dance? Do I stand on the road and say, come see me dance?
Right.
So it is a whole lot, it's a whole lot of a list of things which have not been done, which has removed people somewhat from these manifestations or from picking up. They try, like as a small thing. Yesterday, a friend, who creates, now this is her creation, for example, this Jagannath, Subhadra, Balabhadra, okay? And this is not gold. This is what you call the costume jewelry, and this is wood or plastic. But the beauty of it.
Right.
So she had created a thing of temple jewelry, something, and she wanted me to give a talk to her friends. And some of the social celebrities were there in a small area. There may be about 50 or 60 of them. What I say is that it occurs to me how little people know or bother to know, because it is not given to them, served on a platter anywhere. It is not available on television, such talks. It's not in newspapers, it's not in magazines, it's not on TV channels, and Bollywood to Bollywood hai. There are good films,
but
I'm sure.
Was Bollywood always like that?
No.
See, that's the thing.
But even the word Bollywood came much later.
That's correct.
To say Bombay films, remember?
Yes.
And when it started monkey business.
When did that happen?
I suppose more.
And what brought it?
No, I haven't thought so much about that. But see, I don't want to condemn anything. I'm saying everything exists parallelly. But there is a social responsibility on people who are earning millions and billions from people of this country. Isn't that a social responsibility?
Yes, so all the billionaires have a responsibility to give back in a proper way.
Their businesses can give it back, but more the visual media, visual mediums, they have to give back because they are creating a whole bunch of groups, a whole lot of mentality, attitudes. All this is coming through that.
Right.
And of course, then you have, listen, Rajiv, I and you lived in such happy eras where we could read a lot. We had time to learn sitar and vocal music and pakhwaj and dance and paint and do Sanskrit and be the chief girl in school and do marching and learn to fire guns and do horse riding and read my grandfather's entire library. There was no computer, no mobile phone, no internet, no YouTube, iTunes, no. You agree?
Yes.
And at the slightest, oh, Google karo. Are baapre, what about this?
Yeah, actually Google is atrophying the mind. People don't think they need to learn to Google kar lenge.
And unfortunately, let me say it's a very good opportunity you've given me, that all of Google is not Brahma Vakya. There are a lot of mistakes. There are mistakes in my own biodata. I'm amazed.
In my Wikipedia, there are mistakes, factual errors.
Yeah, in Wikipedia and Google, and I'm very angry, but you can do nothing. But what I say is, even if this chowkidar sitting there was to write something on IGNC and send it to Google, it will feature there.
Right.
So what is that?
Right.
I mean, that is absolutely ridiculous.
So basically, rather than quality, merit, authenticity and adhikar, it is whatever becomes popular, whatever gets more hits. And that means some completely nonsense thing, because it becomes popular, that becomes legit.
Even that word hit,
yes,
is awful.
Yes, it is. It is. Yes.
Hit. Whatever. Hathoda, hammer,
so what
whatever.
to do now? We live in this age.
What
and
we do now?
There are also benefits of it. It's not that firstly, the technology is what it is. It's got marvelous applications. It's for people who are content providers to take control of what the content will be. There need to be some policy. There need to be some leadership in the government and various other places. Yeah. Responsibility. So you've talked about leadership in the government. You've talked about responsibility on the part of media. And maybe education system. It's all about passing exams.
Yeah, that's what I think we should talk about also. As I said, that culture was part of education. Textbooks were different. There was a lot more that education system gave you. Now it is, as you said, it's all about grades. Amazingly, even my own dance students, if I ask them, can you recite a poem? तो पहले तो हिंदी में तो आती नहीं है, आती है तो थोड़ी बहुत, some doha, some Akka Mahadevi, some anything, chut-put. It is not the mainstream. What is the problem with us? Then other thing is that the education system, I think, varies in different parts of India. Earlier, it used to, our classical, of course, I studied, fortunately, in a Gujarati medium school. I'm a Gujarati.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I'm Gujarati. So I wrote my matriculation in Gujarati. English only started from 9th or something. Then I went straight to Elphinstone College and I picked up English from that little dictionaries and Times of India. And I used to underline the words I didn't understand, ask grandfather or refer to the dictionary. But I never had any complex about it. And then, of course, I did German honors, BA German honors. But what I'm saying is that, therefore, in my school, classical music was compulsory, painting was compulsory, Sanskrit was compulsory, dance was compulsory, PT and exercise and sports were compulsory, and we had time for everything. We celebrated all the utsavs, festivals, and I mean, it was such fun. And those school days and those years that have molded me, apart from learning on my own, dance at home and all that. I carry that with me. That's my earth. I stand on that. My Gujarati is perfect. You know, Ahmedabad and where. Are, તમે ગુજરાતી આટલું સરસ બોલો છો, meaning you speak such good Gujarati. I say, what? Mansing, so, Sonal. People don't think. Then when I say I'm a Gujarati, but the Ahmedabad Gujaratis do not speak good Gujarati. I even dream in Gujarati. I count in Gujarati. I know Akhao, Premanand, Dayanam, Narsi Mehta, everyone I've read. And I've read Befam, Ghazals, Amritlal Ghayal, Jhaved Chand Meghani. What's the big deal?
Right.
Hindi,
Right.
Sanskrit, and
So now tell me, where are things? Given where things are, I think we had a good discussion. So, what is the matter? What do you think? Where would you put your finger on?
oh
where the
dear,
issues are?
what is the matter? Oh dear, remember that song? No, then you have to put your finger on a few things. You have to use 10 fingers.
Right.
I think the people still laboring under the complex that we should not be called non-secular.
So secularism is a problem.
I don't understand the word, by the way.
Right.
I'm using it,
Yeah.
but I don't understand the word.
It's not part of our ethos, our culture, our Sanskrit.
Our
it's a foreign
ethos.
thing. It's a foreign thing.
Yeah, तो मुझे समझ में नहीं आता है कि ये बला क्या है.
Yeah.
And in 90 countries that I've visited, I've asked everywhere, believe you me, and no country understands secularism.
And they all come up with very different things from each other. In fact, Americans have a different idea of secularism than Europeans.
Yeah.
Different idea of secularism.
Yeah.
So that's one issue.
That's a big issue.
But that's in the constitution, so you can't really do anything.
But it came later in the constitution. It's
In the
as an amendment. So with an amendment, it also can be removed.
Yeah, but it's not likely in the current scenario that they could
So
do that.
that is the problem.
Yeah.
That debate is not wanted. Open-minded, logical reasoning. Who wants to get into that? It's all the time processions, dharana, sloganeering, attacking, labeling. And this I find, Rajiv, I have to tell you this quickly. I've gone through that. In 1993, I was invited, especially Atal Bihari Vajpayee ji came home to tell me, I have recommended your name. You have to go to Washington to celebrate Vivekananda's centenary of going to Chicago Dharma Sabha, World Parliament of Religions.
Yes.
And I was honored. 3 days my musicians stood in the queue at American Embassy. They were not given visa. I ran to then Foreign Secretary Jain Dikshit. He called up American Embassy, spoke to the ambassador. He was told, we have instructions. And Dikshit said, instructions from who? I don't remember having issued any such instructions. He said, no, from your minister. What minister? Which minister? The minister hasn't consulted. No. Mr. Arjun Singh. Arjun Singh was HRD minister.
And he gave what instructions?
That these Sonal Mansingh should not be allowed to go to America for this event.
Why did he have a problem?
Unbeknown to me, or I didn't even bother to, Atalji had told me, and it was organized by the Vishwa Hindu Parishad of America. They also invited Hari Prasad Chaurasia, the the great flutist. They invited Anup Jalota, the bhajan singer. They invited Anuradha Paudwal, the bhajan singer, and Shatrugna Sinha was going as MC.
Right.
They pounced on me, and they meaning the fashionably leftist Sehmat, CPI, CPM, and JNU cabal. I was summoned to Mavlankar Hall one Sunday morning. Kuldeep Nair was in the chair. Actually, there was only one chair on stage and he was seated in it. He was the chairperson. And with Kaifi Azmi, Shabana Azmi, Swami Agnivesh, etc., the hall was full to the brim. I was asked to give my the reasoning and my logic, why I was becoming communal, why I had accepted the invitation, and that I should not be allowed to go.
So Vivekananda was communal, or were you communal?
Vivekananda didn't matter, I didn't matter, it was Vishwa Hindu Parishad which was organizing it, as I understood later.
Right.
And then I said, well, I'm sorry, but I will go. Because Swami Agnivesh gets up and says, in Hindi he asks me, which I translate now, if Hitler had invited you, would you have gone? With complete seriousness. I wanted to guffaw and laugh. But I said, of course I would have gone. Because I would have changed his heart and his mind with my art. And then I said, unless I'm given a specific brief or an agenda which goes against my grain, I travel round the world taking the message of my beautiful art. And I walked out. And there was a hue and cry. From that day I was dubbed Saffron. And I said, I love saffron. Why don't you throw ink at the sun? You know?
Yeah.
So, and then of course, you know what happened? I never got a government accommodation. I never got Padma Award right from 75 when I had spoken against emergency Indira Gandhi, and I refused to dance in their jamborees. So I have gone through the whole gamut, Rajiv. And when UPA 1 came with 64 MPs, members of parliament of CPM, the Communist Party of Marxists, whatever.
Right.
I was then chairman of Sangeet Natak Academy. They came with their timetable and agenda. Isko hatao, usko hatao, Sonal ko hatao, and they put their own people. Like, I mean, without any, not wasting a minute. The point, Rajiv, is we come back to what you asked. Secularism is, of course, a huge thing, but also these parties which have ruled, this party which has ruled India for a long time, they have learned their lessons. They have their agenda, their timetable, their people all ready to take over.
And the BJP doesn't.
BJP doesn't. BJP is nice. They're very nice. Hello. How does that help?
What do you think of that? Now we are touching the issue. Nice people, good-hearted, honest, genuine, good intentions. But what do you think of the professionalism, the competence, the merit to do some jobs, some serious jobs?
And that is not to say that professional, competent people, serious people are not nice people.
Of course.
Because
Of course. But the point is that those who are nice, honest, ethical, among them, you know, people who are not just hardworking and well-intended, but also very good at certain jobs. And not things like finance and all, where things are going very well. I mean, they're making a lot of
No, we are now, I think, confining ourselves to this field of
this field.
human resources and
Yes.
culture and education.
Correct. So,
Yeah.
yes.
Absolutely. See, Rajiv, the transition, I would say the transition from easy culture, kahin bhi khade ho jao, dance kar lo, ga lo, you know, you can have a little mehfil in your own house and somebody can start dancing. That's okay, like you have house concerts in the West also.
Right.
But even there is certain discipline if you observe. There's a certain maryada, there's a certain respect. I think here it has become free for all now. And that free for all, because in art, on one hand, quality, merit, that pakad, that tapasya, sadhana, that counts, that shows, and that should show, because that is representing the art.
Right.
You cannot have democracy in art.
Right.
You cannot have democracy in
It can't
art.
be just anything goes.
And that's
So,
what's happening.
Yes.
That's what's happening.
Yes. I think that's the disease of postmodernism, which says anything goes, you can interpret anything any way, you can make up whatever you feel like.
The famous thing, no? There's a dot and a big white canvas, and everybody is standing, and the art critics are. And then one critic wrote, it is a black cow in a huge field where other cows have already grazed and gone.
Right.
So, but I want to tell you a little story. Do we have time for that?
Yeah, we tell a story.
We talk about perfection and professionalism and all. This is my favorite story. The word perfection actually does not exist in Indian art. Why? Neither purity. Because desha kala nusari. The core remains the same, but things change outwardly according to time and place.
Yes.
That is one. So what you call purity is Ganga pure, by the way. So the second thing, that was one, and the second, the perfection. The word perfection. Now that word perfection doesn't occur anywhere. Perfection is divine. There may be a moment where you hit perfection and audience, there is a collective sigh, there is goosebumps. That is the moment that you have collectively touched, or the artist has touched. Ek swar laga, yeah, some movement or a moment of silence, something. So the emperor of Tang dynasty in China, he was learning painting from a great master. And for 25 years, he only made the emperor paint dragon. You know how it is. With that handmade ink and on the rice paper, you make your own paper, you made it. One day, the emperor fell on his knees and very humbly had a submission, had a question, if I dare to ask. And the master said, ask. He said, Master, 25 years, you have taught me to draw dragons, small and big and long and short and why is it that you do not ask me, or you yourself when you draw and show me, you don't put the eye? So master smiled, picked up the brush and drew the eye, and dragon flew off. That was perfection.
Good.
Beautiful.
Yes, good story. Good story.
Yeah.
So, where are we in terms of getting there?
Drawing the eye, never.
But from where we are,
no, I think, Rajiv, a lot of things will have to be done parallelly. And first of all is the awareness that things are not going well.
yeah, there's a denial of the
There's
problem.
a denial.
There's a कि आप क्यों criticize कर रहे हैं? Do you hear that a lot? I hear that a lot.
I'm always called Mufat in my younger
Because
days.
you want to.
And now also people are, now, I mean, for the past so many years, I've never changed my stance or my. See, my grandfather told me when I was 17, darling, never compromise your self-respect. Always speak what you think. But keep in mind, and I have never denied that, I'm ready to listen to you, I'm ready to hear him, I'm ready to argue, I'm ready to respond. But A, I will not stand putting me down. B, just because somebody happens to be a minister, somebody happens to be a bureaucrat or something, so what? And I'm sorry, I'm bold enough to say that you will not be on that chair next year maybe. I've been there for years, I will be there for years to come. I traveled around India, everybody knows me. Who knows you? The minute you get off that red batti gadi, who knows you? No, these things need to be talked about. There's so much of ego.
Right.
Rajiv, there's so much ego, I can't stand it. And the third thing, let me tell you, woman.
Yes, tell me that. That's an important cause you have, yes.
Yeah. It's a cause, not a cause, it's my observation and it's my, the way I am, that nobody dares cross my path because I've always stood firm. But the position of woman, again, is
Compared to before?
Compared to before, 10 years, 15 years, I don't know, maybe.
But traditional?
No, I don't know what is tradition. Which tradition?
Earlier eras?
See, North India, Northeast India, nobody talks about that. The saris from Assam. And I've been going to Assam from 70s. I'm a great devotee of Kamakhya. All of Northeast, the Mizos, the Nagas, maybe they've turned Christian, never mind. But Northeast, there's so much respect for women. Women are, shoulder to shoulder in everything, traditionally, even now. In pockets of South India, in pockets of Gujarat, there are pockets now. In Kerala, we used to say, Kerala was matrilineal. What was matrilineal? That mother's brother had all the adhikar. He took over. So there was always a man. See, we should not misinterpret or misunderstand that I or anyone who talks like this is against man. What is there to be against? We are all together in this srishti. We are the two poles. And cosmic rhythm is made of this. Purusha Prakriti, Shiva Shakti, Yin and Yang. It's all very good to talk. What about reality check?
So what are some concrete things you'd like to change?
I want more women in politics. They've been talking about 12%. Right? 12% elected. Where are we?
So why is that so? Nobody stopped them?
No. So then again, there are political parties, the men there, they don't want this to happen. So they oppose. So you don't get enough votes to pass the bill, make it a law. And then also there are other arangas, other obstacles, the mindset. I want more women in public life. I talked about that in Bhopal. I said, take for instance Ministry of Culture. About 49 organizations under that umbrella. According to my information, there is not a single organization headed by a woman.
In the Ministry of Culture?
Yeah.
Out of 49?
Yeah, I may be wrong, but none of the academies, not this, wherever we are, what is that? Indira Gandhi National Center for the Arts, the museum, archaeology, I don't know. Where are they? So,
that's pretty sad. If out of 49 institutions there isn't a single one.
No. Then I also spoke about, and I repeat this because I think we need to give examples to our friends. The President of India released 12 postage stamps last year at Rashtrapati Bhavan of great musicians of India. They were all men, not one woman. Why?
That's bad.
Why? And when I write to the minister concerned, who was the minister then, there is no response, there is no acknowledgement, there's nothing. Even to me. So what I'm saying is cutting across lines. I think women need to. Now, Reserve Bank governor is a woman, thank God. Not Reserve Bank, State Bank. State Bank of India, Arundhati. There are women CEOs here and there. But while we are talking of the government, the bureaucracy, because these are the Mai-Bap even today. Where are the women? How many women ministers? How many women bureaucrats, secretaries? How many women governors?
So this is a very important point. This is a very valid point. Somebody should put out the statistics. There's a big issue there.
Yeah.
There is an issue there.
And then the mindset. I will again come to this that, the great saints of India, Kabir, Tulsi, Sur, always, the same, or Vivekananda, Tagore, Gandhi, Ambedkar. I say Laleshwari, Sakhubai, Janabai, Mahadevi Akka, Mirabai. Where are they? Rani Gandalu of Nagaland, Kamala Devi Chattopadhyay, Sarojini Naidu, Kasturba Gandhi, and so many. Ramabai Ranade. Where are they? Ille. People don't even know the names. Why?
That's very important.
A single statue of any woman in Lutyens zone
Not a
or anywhere.
Yeah.
And there is a half or a 1 kilometer of kilogram, I call that, kg marg, Kasturba Gandhi marg. That's it. Full stop. No. I feel there is a huge
This is a very serious problem.
deficit in thinking and therefore in execution.
Right.
So that's where we are.
Good.
But when it is Nach Gana, you can't do without the female, because God has given her that ability, that power, that beauty, without which human life would be like a desert.
Good. I agree with you. On that note, I want to thank you, and we'll do some more of these, because now we have this technology, and I really I enjoy learning and talking to great masters like you.
Such a pleasure, Rajiv, such a pleasure. And by the way, you have blessed me now, great master, maybe one day. At the moment, I'm still in the learning process.
That's a sign of being great. Always learning.
Namaste.
Thank you very much.
Namaste.